It's time for today's Face-Off on Fox Soul. Challengers Quan LX and Big Angry Adams, ready to go blow by blow on those hot topics. Face-Off on Fox Soul starts right now.
Let's go.
He said we shouldn't celebrate Juneteenth. We shouldn't celebrate Martin Luther King Day. We should be working those days. It's called Ketanji Brown Jackson, an affirmative action hire. He's talked nonsense about George Floyd. And he said he'd be scared if a black pilot was on a plane. Does that not seem racist?
I don't know anything about that.
Then answer no. Does that seem racist? Is a yes or no question, Kyle.
I'm not gonna comment on that.
Deflection! Yeah!
In this round, here's Quan LX.
Charles Kyle Rittenhouse was speaking at University of Memphis, and he was being heckled or being booed, justifiably so in my opinion. And Mr. Rittenhouse became famous in this country for killing 2 protesters, where he claimed he was going just to protect businesses in the area. And he wound up killing 2 Caucasian men, I believe it was. And he was later put on trial, then found not guilty. Also, I believe that was. But I know we should say this as black people. I don't give a damn about Kyle Rittenhouse, because Kyle Rittenhouse is an absolute racist. But America loves the Kyle Rittenhouses of this country. Look at the amount of money that was donated to Kyle Rittenhouse, millions of dollars, when he was being tried for the killing of those 2 men. Millions he raised. Then Kyle Rittenhouse is known to have said, and the young black man questioned him in the audience, potential student, I believe, spoke about him saying that we shouldn't celebrate Juneteenth, the ending to slavery. What racist, no good, dirty, low-down cracker would even think that we shouldn't celebrate the ending of slavery in this country? Then also went on to say we shouldn't celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday. The man is a racist. But I am more concerned about those who are killing black people in this country, and black folks killing black folks by the thousands in this country, than Kyle Rittenhouse, because they want to play Kyle Rittenhouse down. But men like Kyle Rittenhouse are considered patriots for millions of Americans in this country.
I don't think it's the heckling that was the issue, and I think you know that. You've looked at the story. I mean, I want to unpack some of your lies. I guess that's what we're here to do. One, Kyle Rittenhouse did not shoot protesters, right? Protesters protest things, right? They chant, they sing, they march, right? Sometimes they do a sit-in, sometimes they do a takeover. What they don't do is burn and loot buildings. And that's what was happening in Wisconsin while law enforcement was standing down. And I think ultimately, law enforcement's response to the social justice riot movement, not the social justice movement, but the rioters, was to blame for a whole lot of the violence and loss. I don't think, because he shot 2 people that weren't armed with deadly force and hadn't tried to use deadly force, that I think technically under Wisconsin law, he got really lucky that he had a sympathetic judge, right? I do think that you don't just shoot people. I do think that he went out there looking to shoot people.
Had a racist
I
judge.
do think that he's a bit, I don't think that judge was
Absolutely
racist.
a racist.
I think the judge lives in a town that was burnt to the ground by a bunch of lunatics and said, hey, look, you know,
And
I
so
get it.
that justifies him murdering 2 people?
I'm not saying it does, but the problem in Memphis wasn't that, right? The problem in Memphis is that Turning Point, which is an organization on campus, had set up this speech, and then the campus came in and validated their ticket process, stewarded a bunch of tickets to people that they knew would go into protest, stood down as there were people being physically attacked, the exits to the parking garage were blocked, and there was a whole bunch of violent craziness on the campus, right?
Was it black folk doing this violence?
Well, it was a lot of African Americans.
A lot of white students. That's what it was.
No, it wasn't.
A lot of white students.
Okay, but I don't care.
Because I'm going to tell you something about black people.
You're the one that made
Black
race.
students
I don't
know
care.
better than to go to the University of Memphis and create problems like that. It's some little crazy white protesters.
Again,
the same ones he killed also.
Again, maybe you should look at the videos.
And Charles,
because the videos
why
don't
would you
support
sit there
your
and
arguments,
say
but you just
what
sit here and
protesters
lie.
do?
No.
You don't know what protesters do? You ain't never led a protest? Have you ever been a part of one?
Yes.
How long ago was that one? Protesting at what, the meat market? The burger shop? Let me tell you something, Charles. The Boston Tea Party was a protest.
Goodness, you're being a
The
racist.
Boston Tea Party was a
No,
protest.
that was the beginning of a war.
And that was a protest.
That was the
They
beginning
said
of a war.
taxation without tyranny was oppression.
Okay.
And so that was a protest. When they dumped all of it in the harbor, that was a protest.
Okay.
When they stood up and said, give me liberty, give me death, that was a protest against injustice and tyranny.
Those
So
aren't
you cannot
protests.
say what
That was a
protesters do
war.
and do not
and
do.
here's the real, I can say whatever the hell I want. You think white people should shut up.
You ain't
but
protested
the truth
nobody,
is
Charles.
That you make assumptions because you're a racist, right? But the truth is, what we're seeing on campuses right now, which should scare you because you're a voice that could be shut out, right? Because you take some conservative
I'll take a
principles.
different- I'll take a different group of men with me.
You're talking about violence.
I'll take a
right?
different group of men with me.
Universities are supposed to have allow for speech so people can hear other viewpoints. But right now we're in this paradigm where complicit administrators are working with violent activists to allow people to shut down speech. And it's not the heckling. I thought that young African-American student made some wonderful points. I agree. Kyle Rittenhouse, probably a scumbag racist. But at the end of the
Probably.
day, well, I don't know him personally.
The
just
man
based
say
on
don't
reports.
celebrate Dr. King.
Okay. You don't know he
The
said
man
that.
celebrate.
You
No,
don't
the
know
young
he
black
said
man
that.
brought it up.
Oh, yeah, but how
The
do
young
you know,
black man
how
brought
do
it
you
up.
know he's telling the truth?
And then, I'm going to tell you how.
You assume
because
everything.
Kyle Rittenhouse said, I won't answer that. I'm not going to speak to that.
Well,
He said,
it
don't
sounded
celebrate
to me-
Juneteenth,
it
the
sounded
ending
to
of
me
slavery.
like- it sounded to me
He
like
said,
the
I'm not going to
student-
answer that.
It sounded
So if
to
he
me-
didn't say it, why the hell we not
It
answering?
sounded to me the student was asking Kyle's opinion about someone else's behavior.
No.
Just like you didn't.
He was questioning Kyle about what Kyle had said. And
Just
comments
like you
that
talked
Kyle
about,
supports.
all the people being violent on campus were white. The videos, it's actually mostly
Black
African
folk
American.
ain't around the town
But
of
at the
versus
end of the
Memphis
day,
like that.
what we should be against is
Because they
violence
know
being used to
when that
shut
white
down
kid go to
speech.
jail
Because
and
it's
that black
a
kid go to
slippery
jail,
damn
that
slope.
black kid going to jail longer. Them
But
students
you
know that.
don't- You know, I get that you want to racialize everything and you just lie
Them
casually.
students know that we ain't going to jail
at
for the same amount of
but
time
at
for the
the
same
end of well,
crimes.
watch the videos. You're just lying, and it's a pointless
Charles,
lie.
I can
mean, it's-
guarantee you the majority of those creating that havoc were not black students.
Okay, that's not true. Okay, there's videos of it. You're lying, but I don't care. Let's assume
Charles.
you're telling the truth. I don't care if they're black or white.
Charles.
You do, you're racist. I don't care who it is.
Charles.
We shouldn't shut down
Charles.
speeches on campus with violence. We shouldn't
Now,
terrorize
I agree
people.
with you.
We shouldn't dox
Now,
people.
I agree
and as
with
someone
you.
who has been boxed down and shut down
But
because of your
Charles,
viewpoint,
but Charles, I
the
agree.
only reason
But
you
Charles,
don't care
I
about
agree.
it is
No.
because it's whitey.
Charles, I agree that we all should have right of freedom of expression and speech in this country.
It's a public
And I believe
university
that universities
that is allowing
should be
violence
a
against
place
people
of
it
public
disagrees
discourse, and they should be allowed to have debates, civilized debates. If we are now going to make colleges, this is where I agree with you. If we're
Well,
now
I'm right
going,
about everything,
If we're,
so
if
it's
we're
about
now
time.
going to allow colleges to only have one course of dialogue, and we'll silence
that's been
all,
going on
and
everywhere
we'll silence
for
all of the voices
decades.
of dissent or
And you've
difference.
supported it.
I don't support that.
Yes, you have.
What I do support
You
is
did at the
students
beginning of this
standing
segment.
up
At the beginning
and
of this
calling out
segment,
those racists
you were
for who
supporting
they
violence
are.
as a form of protest.
I didn't say
violence,
that.
yes, you know. Well,
No,
you
I
know, the
That's
Tea
what-
Party.
that's
and
what you
the-
white folks have done.
How,
Whenever
I
white
am a
folks protest,
individual.
your protest is
I am
violent.
an individual.
Whenever white
you
folks
are
protest
an
in the annals
individual.
of history,
it's not
it
your
has
skin
been
color,
absolutely
it's
violent.
your thought, and you're a racist.
White folks have never been
Be
civilized
less of a
protesters.
racist,
Ask the
Cornell.
Klan when they protest.
Sometimes there were scenes where there was a prop that was like,
What's he doing?
that could be a sexual innuendo.
Those are good ones.
Dan went overboard and just zoomed in too often on the feet.
Wow, they're really soft.
Zoomed in too often on the tongue licking things. Or something that just went too far.
Was anyone able to say anything, or was that like...
Oh, no. No, it's Dan's baby.
Dan was Nickelodeon's golden boy. And even if he and the network were at odds, he had the power to push back. It was very hard to say anything to him.
In this round, here's Charles Big Angry Adams.
Cornell, Dan Schneider, who was the fat kid in the sitcom Head of the Class when we were young, right? Turned out to be a juggernaut of a showrunner for children's TV in Nickelodeon. And there was long whispers about inappropriate behavior, about a foot fetish, and other weird things. Then we see the just mental collapse of several Nickelodeon child stars. We've all witnessed the Amanda Bynes go from this all-American girl starring in movies to this kind of crazed woman with a face tattoo just trying, I think she's trying to do nails now, on a public street there in LA. It's heartbreaking, right? And everyone thought she was the one that went crazy. But it's become more and more apparent that there was a tidal wave of inappropriate behavior with children. Drake Bell, another child star that fell off the rails, he was accused of having an online inappropriate interaction with a juvenile as a young adult. He was ostracized, but it turns out when he was 14, 15 years old, he was the victim of repeated rapes by a male acting coach. His father, who was alarmed by it, was pushed out of his life, called a homophobe and all kind of horrible stuff. And it turns out that Drake Bell, who was Drake and Josh, was a tremendous victim. So this last week, Jay Lewis, who was the star of Just Jordan, had a post on Facebook that I thought was horribly insensitive to Drake as a victim and to other victims of child sex assault. Let's just forget how disgusting Hollywood is and how those scumbags like to lecture America on how we should be. But Jay Lewis, a young African-American star, he tweeted that his show got canceled, Just Jordan, because he didn't give up that ass, right? I think it's horribly inappropriate. I don't think a victim makes the decision to give up that ass. I think a victim is victimized, raped. I think Drake Bell was raped, and instead we should be focusing all of this on what the hell is wrong with Hollywood, and this was a horrible comment by Mr. Lewis.
Charles, people have been known for a long time and been silent about the freaks in Hollywood. Hollywood has been notorious for booty bandits for generations. They've been known to sexually exploit men, women, and children. And so where is the movement in this country to hold Freakolodian accountable? You know this, Nickelodeon.
There is a
But
movement.
the movement to hold Freakolodian accountable needs to be a real one, but don't stop there. All of these movie houses, Warner Brothers, TriStar, all of them that have been complicit and silent when this was brought to their attention should be put on trial also. The same way college coaches and college universities and presidents were charged with neglecting and ignoring the cries of women who were being sexually molested and exploited on college campuses. The same way in the Navy, where women brought out in the Navy and the armed services, where their cries were being ignored and many of them were being raped. Well, many children have been raped in Hollywood. So they too, those movie houses shouldn't get away scot-free and demonize some of these actors. All of them should be held accountable. And I disagree with you on this.
So you think Jay Lewis's comment was okay? Because that's
I have no problem with what he said.
But don't you think it minimizes
let me speak.
Okay.
As a black man, as a black father, if Jay Lewis was my son, I would have applauded him. Because as a father, I would teach my son, don't you ever let any man make you bend over and give evil an opening because you want to get something of pleasure or treasure from them. God is your sustainer. God is your gift giver. And anything that God wants you to have, no man can keep from you. But whatever God don't want you to have, no man can give to you. I applaud Mr. Lewis because I'm tired of hearing men that claim another man sexually took advantage of me because I wanted a role in Hollywood. I'm tired of hearing men that say another man took advantage of me sexually because I wanted to become a hip-hop artist or a music artist in the music industry. That's a damn lie. You chose to let another man sexually take advantage of you if you're a grown man.
And I
Ain't
think,
no grown man in Hollywood letting another man rape him.
I think your perspective on this is, first of all, Jay Lewis was not being truthful. I looked. It was ratings that canceled his show. It was not a terribly highly consumed show. It just wasn't good TV. And he's getting himself a lot of attention. We're sitting here talking about it. But you are probably intentionally, because you have to assume that you know more. What you're doing is you're talking about children, calling them men.
No, I said men, not children.
And blaming them.
I said
We're
men, not children.
We're talking about a 14-year-old kid that was raped by a 40-year-old man.
And a 14-year-old male's child has enough strength to say no.
Okay.
Especially when he has an active father.
So we're back.
He had an active father in his life.
We had a father trying to
and what
protect
that young man
him
did,
that
he
was
chose to
boxed
listen to a
out
freak
by Hollywood
and not listen to his father.
Now, see, that's
why
what's
that
crazy.
14-year-old boy didn't listen to his father? Because obviously his father spoke out against him.
You are talking about a victim, a child victim, and adult victims of rape, as if they brought their raping
not
on themselves.
Children victims,
and
Charles.
he's a 14-year-old
I sympathize
child.
with children,
Okay.
but his father tried to stand up for him.
Okay.
And he walked away from his father.
Sympathize with children.
He chose not to take his father's help.
You sympathize with children, but adults that get raped, that's
so
on them.
let me tell you
that's
something.
on them, Cornell.
You really want me to believe that a grown-ass man in Hollywood is going to let another man sodomize him because he wants a role in Hollywood? That ain't rape.
I don't think.
That is an abandonment of the law of God and an abandonment of your principles.
I don't think
I don't give a damn who the man is.
I don't think it matters.
You ain't getting a shot of butt from me. I don't give a damn if you got
It doesn't
$100
matter
million.
if it's heterosexual or homosexual rape. You're focusing too much on your bigotry and your homophobia.
What you mean heterosexual rape? What do you mean?
Rape of women by men. It happens all the time.
That's still rape, yes.
Okay, yes. And you're
but
sitting here.
ain't no woman raping no man in Hollywood
you're
for a role.
acting, you are actually that's not true.
So women raping men in Hollywood
But
now.
you are demonizing
Bullshit,
victims
because
of race and gender.
I disagree with that.
You know, Hollywood could burn, but victims need to be protected.
After shorts. Men see physical, we see it. We don't know she 15, 14, man. Sis, you don't see your daughter out there look like she having a out contest with you. You ain't gonna say nothing. Or you just gonna victimize the people that look at her. Ain't you the one that bought them clothes? Huh? Ain't you the one that, man, check that. It's warm as hell, man. You got these little girls walking down the street. I'm riding down the block, seeing all the kids for the prom. Somebody got all the little girls, prom dresses, got the
In this round, here's Quanell X.
Charles, we just watched a video of a young man on social media, a gentleman. I don't know how old he may be.
He looked old as hell.
Young man. But a lot of what he had to say, a lot of people may find offensive. And some parents, I'm sure, would find it offensive. But to be honest, you know, we like to condemn the messenger but not pay attention to the message. What that gentleman was talking about is a legitimate problem in America today. You have too many parents that are allowing children, in particular their young girls, to leave their homes dressed like prostitutes. There are too many parents not only allowing the young girls to leave dressed like that, they themselves are buying the clothes for them to wear. Charles, I have been in the gym and I have seen fathers with their daughters, and their daughters are dressed like prostitutes with all their ass hanging out, them spandex, to where they're so damn short, it looks like a pair of panties. But she's in the gym with her father. Go to a high school football game. It looks like an ass out contest with young women wearing shorts. And the style now is to have all the butt cheeks hanging out. What he was talking about is you don't want men, grown men, old men, looking at your daughters. Well, why in the hell would you allow them to leave home dressing like that? And why would you buy those clothes for them to dress like that? There was a time in America where in the black community I can speak of, you couldn't leave your mama's house dressed like that. You couldn't leave your father's house dressed like that. And if your parents got word that you was dressed like that in public, they were coming with the belt and take your ass all the way back up to the house. Charles, we gotta go back to the way we were and not the way we are. We have allowed freaks in this country to set the cultural dress standards and to define to our young girls and young boys what's acceptable, and these standards are absolutely ungodly.
That was a nice manufactured outrage, but it was a bunch of nonsense. First of all, you talk about people holistically if we're some collective that just behaves in the manner that you want. And secondly, two wrongs don't make a right. What this guy was doing is he was justifying ogling young girls. He was saying, oh, well, it's y'all's fault because you let her dress like that. And that's a disgusting argument. I'm not saying that parents shouldn't restrict what their young daughters should wear. I know you just assume have everybody in a burqa or some such nonsense, but just because girls wear shorts doesn't mean they're dressed like prostitutes. Prostitutes, they have their ass and their titties hanging out. Can I even
And that's
say
what
that?
they wearing,
no,
Charles.
But that's not true,
In
right?
the gym.
He's talking about.
And yes, Charles.
Okay.
In high school
I'm
events.
going to give you an example.
Yes, sir.
When my daughter was in between 5th and 6th grade, she's a tall girl. She had tried out for her first club team, and she was offered a spot at the tryout. The only kid offered a spot at the tryout to be on their #1 team. She didn't end up being on that team, but she was flattered by it, and we left the club tryout and went to Baybrook Mall, which is right next door, and went in because she wanted some Crocs or some new shoes. She wanted something, right? Typically, after that, I would always make her change. Before that, she's a child, just out of 5th grade, right? She's wearing the volleyball shorts that are tight little spandex shorts. I did not think about her being anything other than a child. I'm in there, and she's trying on some shoes, and she's trying them on standing. I look over, and there's an old guy, probably my age now, probably in his 50s, just craning his head, looking at her. And at first I thought, that can't be her. He must be looking at something else, but it persisted. That's a pervert. Maybe I should have told the 10, 11-year-old kid to put on some shorts other than volleyball shorts. That don't make what this pervert was doing was right. And then I asked him if he needed to, if he wanted to take a picture, and he got all flustered and started denying. He's lucky I didn't smack him across his damn face. But it's not okay for Mr. TikToker there to be a pervert on 13, 14-year-old girls.
I don't think he's been a pervert, Charles.
He was
I think
justifying
the man was making some valid
and you
points.
were taking up for it.
Charles, he made some valid points, Charles.
Just like you
Let me
think
tell you
the
this,
victims
Charles.
of pedos are to blame.
I wish the producers could pull up some videos of these young girls in the gym now. That's all over social media. Look at Instagram, look at Snapchat, and look at the outfits that these girls are wearing in the gyms, Charles. It looked like a prostitute festival, Charles.
We need more fathers in the home having rules for their daughters, right?
I totally agree.
I mean, we have way too many broken
Charles,
homes.
let me tell you something,
and
Charles.
African-American communities in America
That's what I'm going to do for
are
you,
the
Charles.
line leaders of
This
the broken,
year,
non-participatory
I'm going to invite you to a high school football game.
Okay, I've been to high school football games the last
You ain't
couple
been
of
lately.
years. Oh, yeah, I actually have.
When you see the outfits, you tell me what you think then.
They were doing that 10 years ago. They were doing it
Charles,
20 years ago. They were doing it in the 70s.
In front of their parents.
And in the 80s.
At an ass-out contest.
It's like you're
in front of your parents and administrators.
Why are you
the
acting
teachers
like,
would not allow that,
why
Charles.
are you
the
acting
principals
like
and administrators
Two Live Crew
would not
wasn't
allow
a thing
that.
in 1988? You graduated high school when? 90?
That was
Girls
different.
were
Two Live
dressing
Crew was
freaky
different.
back
But
then,
that was
too.
different. That wasn't in school.
How was it different?
That wasn't in school. That was at the house party. That was the house party, Charles. That was behind the.
There wasn't nobody banging.
That was behind the stairway at the school.
That was
behind the stairway.
Where'd you go to high school?
That was in the.
Where'd you go to high
in the
school?
closet in auditorium room.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Worthing High School.
Okay, you're trying to tell me nobody was banging Two Live Crew in a mini truck with a couple of bazooka 40s in the back, and there are people out there twerking in booty shorts in 1989. You're trying to tell me that nonsense. We were so good back then.
Don't bring up Two Live Crew.
Girls should dress better. I know you don't want to hear the truth. Girls and fathers should be more involved. Girls should
need
dress
more
better.
fathers to be involved,
But the
yes.
perverts are still to blame for being
Make
perverts.
your children put some clothes on.
Hey, you know what? And perverts,
You remember
stop
me so
looking
horny?
at little kids.
Remember me so horny about Two Live Crew?
I do remember it, but
Hey,
I also remember.
we want some.
Hey, perverts, they're the bad guys, not the kid victims. You know, both these last two stories touched on a real problem that we have in America, and people, often Quanell, likes to try to frame that problem as purely a problem in the LGBT community, and it's not. In fact, there is more heterosexual incidents, even if you look at per capita based on population, more heterosexual victims of child sexual assault and pedophilia. There's a little bit dividing line there, and it's just horrifying. What bothers me the most is when you try to pretend like the victims were somehow to blame for their victimization. It's the same math that's used in many parts of the world where women are not allowed to dress a certain way because they're saying if they are, they're bringing this sexual assault on themselves. And that's horrifying math. And it's the victimizers and the perverts that are blamed, not the victims of any sexual assault or even just creepiness. And really what bothers me about this quiet on the set, Hollywood loves to lecture the flyover states. You get to LA and they want to tell us all how we should live, how we should believe, what we should think. They are the last people that America should be listening to. At the end of the day, you have a bunch of narcissists that have evil intentions, and has existed since the beginning of Hollywood. There's a famous article or interview with Shirley Temple, Larry King. You should look for it. It's horrifying.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this. We as parents must do better when we allow our children to leave our homes dressed a certain way. We used to have standards in this country, that we have abandoned those standards and we follow political correctness over what's biblically correct. And now the morality standard of this nation is now dropped and fallen so low to where our babies are dressing like the women of the night in public and at school and in gyms and other places. We got to clean that up as parents, for correction starts in the home. To any man in Hollywood, I'm against men in Hollywood sexually exploiting and taking advantage of young female girls. That's a crime, absolutely. But I want to talk to grown women now, and I want to talk to grown men. There's nothing in Hollywood that is so great that justifies you throwing your moral beliefs and standards in the garbage can. If that freak won't give you a role because you won't have sex with him, well, to hell with him and that role, and trust in God that God will make a way for you.
That's it for the Face-Off on Fox Soul. We'll catch you next time.